She was just a deal to him until he treated her like she mattered asterisk. She was naked, completely naked, standing in the middle of his ship's cargo bay like it was the most normal thing in the galaxy. Captain Rion Holt dropped. His coffee mug shattered on the floor, hot liquid spraying across his boots, but he barely noticed. His pulse pounded in his ears as he stared at the strange, shimmering blue-skinned woman who stared right back at him. She was tall, slender, with large silvery eyes that blinked slowly, like she was still trying to adjust to the light. He started completely forgetting every protocol he'd learned during his 15 years of interstellar trade. Who the hell are you? The woman tilted her head. Her voice came soft and melodic. You are human, yes. This is your vessel, Rion blinked. Yeah, yes, this is my ship. You're not supposed to be here. She looked around, clearly unconcerned by his confusion, or the fact she wasn't wearing a stitch of clothing. Then I am exactly where I was told to be. My name is Alira. You requested cargo. I am the cargo. He stared slack-jawed. Cargo, you're a person. Am a Trellian bond gift, she said, as if that explained everything. Your payment was accepted. I was chosen. This is my assignment. Rion took a step back, trying to make sense of her words. The Trellians were a mysterious race, known more for their technology and strict isolationism than trade. He had agreed to transport a gifted biological unit to the neutral Terran zone. It was a barter deal, nothing illegal, but nothing had said the cargo would be a living, breathing alien woman. And what exactly does a bond gift do? He asked warily, eyeing her from a safe distance. She didn't seem threatening. In fact, she looked well, stunning. Her skin shimmered like moonlight on water, and her body, let's just say the human brain had not evolved to ignore those curves. I serve, learn, and if approved bond, she said simply. Your species is under observation. Physical compatibility is part of the process. He coughed. Physical what now? Lara stepped closer. She wasn't shy. Not at all. Rion's boots squeaked on the floor as he backed up. His ship suddenly felt way too small. You seem nervous, she said, genuinely curious. Are you not pleased? I didn't order a woman, he said, waving his arms. I thought it was going to be some lab-grown plant thing or a weird lizard pet, not a person. I am not just a woman, she said, placing a hand gently on her chest. I am engineered to observe and adapt. We have studied many species. None have shown the same traits as yours. Rion squinted. Traits? She smiled. You're more durable, emotionally volatile, but fascinating. And you're mating. Biology, your species possesses one of the most intense physical bonds we've encountered. His ears turned red. Is that a compliment or a warning? Both, she said, almost teasing. We expected you to be larger, though. Rion blinked. Larger? I'm 6'2". Mint tilted her head again. I meant ... anatomically. Now he was really blushing. Look, I don't know what kind of freaky customs your people have, but I'm not. I don't just sleep with people who show up in my ship. Alira blinked slowly. You misunderstand. No contact is forced. I am here to learn. If a bond forms, it must be mutual. That is the law, right? Good. Great, he muttered, running a hand through his messy hair. First contact, and I'm already offending someone? She stepped closer again, less formally now, watching him carefully. You are unlike others we've tested. You didn't try to dominate. You didn't panic. You have ... strong reactions. He looked away. Yeah, well, it's not every day a naked alien shows up on your deck talking about mating. You wish for me to clothe myself? Yes, please. She turned toward the console, and with a flick of her fingers, summoned a soft, silvery wrap that flowed around her body like liquid cloth. It did little to hide her form, but at least he could breathe again. You're not going to try anything weird, are you? He asked. Only if you define learning your language and cooking your food as weird, she said with the hint of a smirk. He sighed. This was going to be a long haul to the Terran zone. Lyra didn't seem dangerous, but she sure wasn't ordinary. And as much as he hated to admit it, part of him, maybe a large part, was curious. very curious. He turned to go, but she called out to him again. "Captain Holt, I've read about humans. Many races say you are crude, unpredictable, but I think there is more to you. I think you are ... unique." He looked back at her. "Lady, if you hang around long enough, you'll see exactly how unique I can be." She smiled again. "I look forward to it." And that was the moment Rian Holt realized this mission just became something else entirely. Alira had only been aboard for 2 days, and already, Rian Holt was forgetting what life had been like before she showed up bare-skinned, sharp-tongued, and way too calm about the fact she was technically his cargo. He stood in the galley now, pretending to read diagnostic data on his wrist console. While peeking over the edge of the terminal at her, she was humming. Actually humming. The sound was soft, alien, and hypnotic like music made from water and wind. She moved with strange grace between the stove and storage unit, barefoot and humming while flipping what looked suspiciously like pancakes. Rian had no idea where she found the ingredients. He was pretty sure half the supplies she used were technically lab samples. "You're cooking again?" he said, voice cracking slightly as he leaned in. She didn't look up. He had 6 ration packs and 2 cans of synth beans on board. "I refuse to let you eat military sludge. It's bad for mating viability." He choked on his own saliva. "What viability?" She looked at him this time, lips twitching. "Relax, Captain. I'm only studying viability." He sat down slowly, trying not to stare. But damn it, she'd found one of his old tank tops and somehow turned it into a dress. One of her shoulders was bare. Her skin shimmered like cool glass under soft light, smooth and alien, but oddly familiar. "You know," he muttered on Earth, "people usually have coffee before discussing breeding experiments." Her silvery eyes widened slightly. "Ah, you are uncomfortable." "No, I mean, yes, sort of." "It's not every day a woman evaluates my mating potential while flipping pancakes." She placed a plate in front of him, then sat across from him, folding her long legs neatly under the chair. "You still do not understand. My assignment is to observe, adapt, and report. I am not here to seduce you." He tried the pancake. It was fluffy, sweet, and faintly spicy. "Well, you're doing a pretty good job of confusing me." "That," she said, pointing at his face, "is a very human trait. Emotional conflict. A contradiction between what is felt and what is said." "Fascinating," he frowned. "Do you guys always talk like lab reports?" Why, she tilted her head. "Would you prefer I call you attractive, emotionally erratic, and biologically overwhelming?" He blinked. "What?" Lyra leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering. "Your physiology, it is ... impressive. Our early tests underestimated. Human genetic engineering, your strength-to-mass ratio, your recovery time, and ... certain other factors." "You mean my?" He cleared his throat loudly. "Right? Great. Wonderful. So I'm the galaxy's most impressive reproductive mystery." She smiled. "Not the most, but certainly in the top 3. He nearly dropped his fork. She stood up, walking to the viewport and looking out at the stars. "Your kind has only been spacefaring for a short time, yet you've survived wars, disasters, and species extinction threats. You build, fight, recover, over and over. Why?" He stood too, stepping beside her. "Because we don't know how to quit. Or maybe," she said softly, "you're too stubborn to die." They stood in silence, side by side, watching the swirling colors of the nebula they were passing. The light bathed the room in soft golds and purples. Alira's reflection shimmered in the glass, her features unreadable. Then she spoke again. "We thought you would be violent, that you would try to control me. Take what you wanted." He turned to her. "You thought I'd force you?" "Yes. Some species do. When given power, ... they abuse it. I needed to know what kind of man you were, and now," he asked a little coldly. She looked at him. Really looked. "Now, I think I underestimated humans in the opposite direction. You give too much. You feel too deeply. Your species burns like a star." Rian felt something stir in his chest. Not lust, not pride. Something warmer. "I'm not a hero," he said quietly. "I've done things I'm not proud of. I've run cargo for mercs, smuggled tech, stolen fuel. I've been selfish. Cold, not with me, she said. Their eyes locked, and then she stepped even closer, her voice barely a whisper now. Do you know what happened to the last species we tried to bond with? Shook his head. They failed. Too weak. Too slow. Too ... indifferent. But you? You light up our readings. You react with intensity we didn't predict. Your emotional core, it's like a flame. And when humans bond ... you really bond. You talk like you've already decided something. Haven't. Not fully. But I feel something when I'm near you. Something we were told wasn't possible. He didn't move. His heart was pounding now. What do you feel? He asked quietly. She looked up at him, and for the first time since she'd arrived, her voice had a crack in it. A warmth. Curiosity. Fear, and something I've only read about in human literature. Rian exhaled, unsure what to say. That's one hell of a science report, and she did something unexpected. She reached up, placed a cool hand against his cheek, and said, "We call it resonance, but humans have a better word." She leaned in, close enough that he could smell the faint citrusandrine scent of her skin. "You call it attraction?" And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing there. Heart thudding, brain buzzing, and pancakes forgotten on the table. Whatever this mission was before, it had just changed forever. Rian couldn't sleep. Not that sleep was ever easy in deep space engine hum, recycled air, the occasional asteroid warning, but now there was her. He'd spent the last 2 hours pacing the hallway outside his own quarters, arguing with himself like a madman. She was right there, just a few meters away, probably asleep. Maybe not, and that last thing she said, "You call it attraction," had looped through his brain 100 times. He finally gave up, marched to the bridge, and flopped down in the pilot's chair like a moody teenager. He activated the forward cam feed, watching the stars stretch and twist as the ship cruised through sublight drift. Peaceful, cold, familiar, but inside his chest, complete chaos. Illyra wasn't just another alien. She felt different. She acted different. He'd worked with dozens of species before, traded with them, negotiated. Sometimes flirted, but this wasn't the same. There was something else happening here. And he wasn't the only one feeling it. He didn't hear her come in. She never made a sound when she moved.
Rattling shadow wrapped in silk.
"You paced like a predator," she said from behind him. He jumped, knocking over a cup of cold coffee. "Again, do you make a habit of sneaking up on stressed-out pilots?" He grumbled. "Only the ones having emotional crises at 0300 hours," she replied calmly. He turned. She was dressed in one of the emergency blankets, wrapped like a robe. Her silver hair was loose, brushing her collarbone.
Us.
Her eyes glowed softly. In the dim bridge lights, watching him like a cat watches a laser dot. "I couldn't sleep," he muttered. "I noticed," she said, stepping closer. "Your emotional output increased 39% since dinner. You're tracking my emotions? Your ship's life support grid reads pulse, respiration, body heat. Your kind may not be as private as you think. Good to know," he said, shifting in his seat. "Anything else you've scanned without asking?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she said yes. He stared, such as, pause. "Your reproductive DNA sequence," she said flatly. He choked. "What? It was necessary?" she said, with a straight face. "I've never encountered a species with such exaggerated biological markers. Your genetic structure suggests stamina thresholds that far exceed our initial models." He stood up too fast and hit his knee on the console. "You're analyzing my dick, aren't you?" Lyra blinked. "Technically, yes," covered his face with both hands and groaned into them. "This is not helping me calm down." She approached slowly. "I do not mean to cause distress. I am simply ... curious. Your physiology is compelling. Your emotional spectrum is vast, and yet you hold yourself back." He lowered his hands. "Because I don't know what the hell this is. You arrive out of nowhere, say you're a gift, start cooking in my kitchen, and now you're evaluating my mating fitness like I'm a prize bull. You are more than a bull, she said softly. You are ... Rian. His name sounded different when she said it, like a song wrapped in breath, a name whispered under blankets. He sat back down, suddenly exhausted. So what happens if we do bond, huh? Do I get turned into some glowing science project for your people to poke and prod? Lyra hesitated. No, she said. If we bond, I stay with you. It hit him harder than he expected. You'd leave your people. We are not like you. Our society does not form individual attachments easily. Bonds are rare, but when one forms, it cannot be undone. And you think, that's what this is? I feel drawn to you. My skin reacts to your presence. My emotions are changing. That has never happened before, not with any other species. He stood again, slower this time, and walked over to her. They were inches apart. You're not human, he said quietly, and I'm definitely not alien enough for your culture. Maybe, she said, but biology doesn't care about culture. It just reacts. He swallowed. So what do we do now? Let the bond grow, naturally, without pressure. He nodded, still unsure if he was dreaming. Then he asked the question he'd been avoiding all day. What would it feel like if the bond completes? She looked at him, and for once, there was no calculation in her gaze. No data, no scanning, just raw truth. It would feel like burning from the inside out, never wanting it to stop. His breath caught, and then, slowly, gently, her hand reached up and touched his chest, right above his heart. I can already feel the pull. Can you? He nodded. Once. Yeah, I feel it. She leaned in, close enough that he could see the tiny silver veins glowing under her skin. But she didn't kiss him. Not yet. Instead, she whispered, then let it grow, one breath at a time. And she left the bridge, barefoot, silent as always, leaving. Behind nothing but the faint scent of stars and cinnamon, Rian stood there, hands shaking, heart thumping, unsure if he'd just stepped into a dream or into something that would change the rest of his life. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but tonight, he wasn't alone in the dark. He was burning, and finally, he didn't want it to stop. Asterisk the next morning, Rian woke up. Hot, not sweaty, not feverish, just hot. Like his blood had been replaced with liquid sunlight. His skin tingled. His heartbeat thudded a little harder than usual, and his mind scattered. 1,000 thoughts at once, and all of them pointed toward one thing. One person. Alira. He rolled out of bed with a groan, pulling on a shirt and muttering under his breath. This was ridiculous. He was a grown man. A seasoned starship captain, not some hormonal teenager dreaming about his crush. But his body clearly hadn't gotten the memo. Every time he thought about her, which was often, he felt a strange warmth coil in his chest, then lower. Need to get my head checked, he muttered, heading toward the galley. The scent hit him before the door opened. Something sweet, spicy, unfamiliar, and completely intoxicating. She was already there, standing by the galley counter, wearing his shirt again, only this time, it barely covered her thighs. Her silver blue skin glowed faintly. Like morning dew kissed by starlight, she turned at his approach. You slept poorly, she said softly. You watched me sleep? He said, stopping mid-step. No, she replied with a small smile. I felt it. He frowned. You felt my sleep? The bond is strengthening, she explained, calm and matter of fact. I didn't intend it. But your emotional signals were vivid. He rubbed his temples. I was dreaming. I know, she said. I was in some of them. He froze. She didn't elaborate, just walked toward him and held out a steaming mug of something purple. Here, drink this. It will settle the tension. He took the cup, mostly to give his hands something to do. Their fingers brushed. Just a moment. But the touch hit him like a jolt. His pulse quickened. Her pupils dilated slightly. The light glow on her skin intensified. Is it normal? He asked. This ... heat. She nodded. When the bond reaches phase 2, it triggers hormonal alignment. Temperature fluctuations, heightened sensitivity, You'll also crave physical proximity. You mean touching? I mean touching, closeness, skin contact, she said, stepping closer. And eventually, if allowed, fusion. His brain stopped. Fusion. It's not as dramatic as it sounds, she said, tilting her head, but it is, ... permanent. You're saying if we complete the bond physically, she said slowly, deliberately, our energies merge. There is no way to undo it after that. He stared at her. At her strange, glowing beauty. At the way her voice dropped when she said physically. At the way her body seemed to respond to him even now, like a tuning fork vibrating at his frequency. And, you're okay with that? He asked, voice low. She hesitated for the first time. I don't know. My people never expected one of us to bond with a human, but my body has already accepted the possibility. Instincts are ... adapting. Rapidly, Rianne leaned against the table. What happens if we don't do anything? She took a breath. Eventually the bond will fade. We'll go back to being separate. But she said quietly, we will feel the loss, deeply, like a phantom limb that was never supposed to be removed. He sipped the drink, tasted like wild honey and electricity. His brain buzzed, his chest tightened. Has this ever happened before? He asked. Between a Trellian and a human? Never? And if we go all the way with this, what then? Stepped closer, so close now he could smell her again, stars and spice. Then we belong to each other, she said simply. His throat went dry. For how long? Her eyes shimmered. Forever. The word hung between them, heavy and fragile. He wanted to run. He wanted to stay. He wanted to grab her and ask everything. Instead, he did the most human thing possible. He panicked. I need to fix the nav grid, he said suddenly, turning away. Alira didn't move. Didn't call after him, just watched him go, with unreadable eyes. But as he walked down the corridor, he could still feel her, like her presence was tattooed on the inside of his chest. Every cell of his body wanted to turn back, to touch her, to complete something. The bond was no longer just theoretical. It was real and it was growing. Later, that evening, the ship dropped out of drift. A small research station floated ahead, orbiting a dying white star. It was their scheduled cargo exchange routine, forgettable. Except this time, something was wrong. Proximity alert, the computer chirped. Rian sat up in his chair. It's not right, ... A pirate's signature pinged across the radar. Not one ship. Not two, for Alira appeared beside him, calm but focused. Trouble? She asked. Yeah, he muttered. And we're outgunned. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we fight, together. We stared up at her. The ship shook with the first impact, and as the lights dimmed and Klaxon screamed, Rian realized something deep in his gut. She wasn't just some alien curiosity anymore. She was his, and he'd fight the whole damn galaxy to keep her. Asterisk, the ship was shaking, not gently. Not rhythmically violently. Rian gritted his teeth as sparks burst from the overhead conduit. His fingers flew across the console, rerouting power, forcing the shields to stay up, even as 3 enemy vessels circled like wolves smelling blood, forward cannons offline. He shouted into the com. Alira's voice came through instantly, calm even in chaos. Redirect to dorsal batteries. I'm already in the gun bay. He didn't ask how she knew what the hell a dorsal battery was. She'd apparently downloaded the entire system's manual sometime between dinner and dessert last night. The ship jolted again. Metal screeching. Another hit. Close. Rian cursed under his breath. I told you, we should have taken the longer route around the Helix Rift. You also told me you could fix the gravity stabilizer with a fork and duct tape, Alira replied dryly. He laughed despite the situation. Okay, fair. Outside, the pirate ships were like angry insects. Fast, aggressive, and dirty. Not the kind that gave warnings. They were after cargo. Possibly him, or her. Especially her. Because if any of them had any idea what Alira was, they wouldn't just take her. They'd dissect her. Rian's heart twisted at the thought. Target acquired. Her voice came through the speaker again, sharper now, locking fire. The ship's turrets roared to life. Red-hot blasts tore through vacuum and slammed into one of the pirate frigates. It exploded in a silent bloom of metal and flame. Rian whooped, pumping his fist. "Nice shot." "You're welcome," she replied, just a hint of satisfaction in her voice. He switched channels. "This is Captain Holt of the freighter Marlin's Wake. You're trespassing in a registered safe zone. Back off or you'll meet the same fate." Static then. Laughter. A grating, metallic voice came through. "Oh, Captain Holt, your ship's registered, but your cargo isn't." Rian's stomach dropped. "What the hell are you talking about? You've got Trellian biotech on board? She's not yours. She's ours now." Rian's hands clenched into fists. "Like hell she is." He slammed the console, rerouted engine power, and brought the ship into a full spin. "You might want to hold on to something," he yelled. In the gun bay, Alira didn't need the warning. She sensed it, the shift in him. The heat, the fury. The way his protective instinct burned through the bond. Like wildfire. She braced herself, and she felt it. That unmistakable thrum of connection. Not just physical, deeper. It hit her in the center of her chest like a sonic wave. They weren't just linked anymore. They were synchronized. Her aim sharpened. Her heartbeat aligned with his. She became his weapon, and he her anchor. Together they moved. He spun the ship through a dangerous arc, faking a plasma overload. As the lead pirate ship pulled closer to gloat, Alira took the shot. Direct hit. A second enemy ship erupted in fire. Pieces tumbling through space like confetti. 2 down. 1. To go, Rian. Her voice crackled through, lower now almost. Strained. "You okay?" he asked, suddenly afraid. "It's happening," she said, breath catching. "The bond, it's accelerating too fast." He turned, heart hammering. "What do you mean too fast?" "Feel everything," she said. Your fear, your rage, your drive to protect." Here she cut herself off. The last pirate ship fired again. A glancing hit. Shields dropped to 38%. Rian stood. "I'm coming to you." "No," she said firmly. "You need to finish this." He stopped. Torn. But she wasn't done. "Let me show you what happens when we fully connect," she whispered. He blinked. "Alira, what are you?" Then his console glowed. Not the usual screens, not the UI. The controls were glowing, pulsing like they were alive. Then he realized they were. She was inside the ship, not physically, energetically. The bond had gone. Past biology, it was merging her consciousness. With the system, with him, she was the ship now, and she was angry. The final pirate vessel tried to turn. Too late. 3 internal turrets activated simultaneously. Lasers, plasma rounds, and kinetic blasts tore through the enemy's shields like paper. It didn't explode. It vanished, vaporized. Silence fell over the bridge. The radar showed only wreckage. Rian sat slowly, stunned. "Breathing hard, Alira?" "I'm here." Her voice came again, softer now, exhausted. "But I can't hold it. Not like this. Not without." He was already running. When he reached the gun bay, she was on the floor, her body glowing faintly, her skin flickering between blue and silver, her breathing ragged. Hey, stay with me," he said, sliding beside her, cradling her head. "It's okay," she whispered. "The connection, it's just too raw, too fast. Our species weren't meant to bond this deep so soon." "You should have told me," he said, voice cracking. "You would have stopped me." She smiled weakly. "But I'd rather burn beside you than fade alone." "Damn it," he said, holding her tighter. "Don't say things like that." She reached up, fingers brushing his face. "You're still warm," she whispered. "That means I'm still part of you." He kissed her hand. "You don't get to quit now, not after everything. Not after you've made my ship smell like weird pancakes and my heart feel like it's going to explode every time you walk into a room." She laughed. barely, but it was there. "That's a terrible confession," she said. He leaned down, resting, his forehead to hers. "Then let me try again." He kissed her, not desperately, not hungrily, but fully. The bond ignited between them like a silent explosion. Lights dimmed. The ship's hum faded to stillness, and in that quiet, something beautiful happened. Two different beings, human and alien, aligned, and neither would ever be the same again. When the systems came back online, the ship was intact. But more importantly, so were they dot together, and whatever came next, the galaxy would have to deal with it, because Rian Holt had just fallen in love with the most dangerous, beautiful being in known space, and she felt the same. Rian hadn't slept, not because he was afraid, because he couldn't stop watching her. Alira lay beside him, resting her head against his bare chest. Her breath slow, even soft. She looked almost human when she slept, except for the faint shimmering glow under her skin. The way her fingers curled slightly when she dreamed. And the slow, pulsing light behind her eyelids that reminded him she wasn't from this world. And yet, he didn't feel like he was lying next to something alien anymore. She was his. The bond had sealed fully. He could feel her heartbeat in his chest as clearly as his own. When she stirred in her sleep, he twitched with her. When he inhaled, she breathed a moment later. They weren't just lovers now. They were fused. Emotionally, energetically, biologically, and it scared the hell out of him. He reached up to brush a strand of her silver hair from her cheek. Her skin was warmer than before, her glow brighter. She looked stronger, yet more vulnerable too. She opened her eyes slowly. "Still here?" she whispered, voice rough with sleep. "Not going anywhere," he replied. She smiled. "That was different." He raised a brow. "You mean the part where we kissed and you turned into a glowing space goddess and fried 3 pirate ships with your brain?" She chuckled softly. "I meant the bond, but yes, that too," he laughed. But it faded quickly. "So what now?" Alira sat up, her skin glistening like morning frost under starlight. She looked around the small, dimly lit cabin, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she pressed her palm to her abdomen. Rian noticed the gesture. "What is it?" asked, sitting up beside her. She didn't speak for a moment. Then quietly, "I feel." Something his brow furrowed. "Something like what?" She turned to face him fully now, like life. Rian's mouth opened, but no words came out. His brain short-circuited halfway through, forming a sentence. "You mean?" She nodded slowly, her expression caught between wonder and disbelief. "My people do not conceive without genetic synchronization. It's extremely rare. It usually takes multiple attempts, but..." She touched her belly again. "With you, it might have happened instantly." He stood up abruptly, half shocked, half struck. "Wait, where you're saying there's a chance you're already?" "Yes," she said, eyes locking with his. "I may be carrying a hybrid." Silence. Rian felt the weight of the moment slam into him like a crashing ship. He paced, rubbed his face, ran his fingers through his hair, and then finally stopped to look at her again. "You're sure?" "No, not yet. But I feel something. And you forget, we're bonded now. Our energy cycles are merged. I would feel it instantly." He stared. "You're glowing. I'm always glowing." "No," he said. "You're more..." She looked down at her skin, and he was right. The shimmer was no longer just beneath the surface, it was radiating. A soft golden hue now layered over her usual silver-blue light. She looked divine, otherworldly, but somehow human too. He sat back down, slowly, and then he laughed. Not mocking, not nervous, joyful. "You okay?" she asked. "I just realized," he said. "I'm a single freighter pilot who just got bonded to a powerful alien who might be pregnant with a kid that could rewrite interspecies history." She blinked. "You're not mad? Are you kidding?" he said. "A week ago, I was drinking cold coffee and yelling at the recycling unit. Now I've got a glowing goddess making pancakes and maybe carrying my half-alien kid. She raised a brow. You're romantic when you're panicking. I'm panicking with style. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. He wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. They sat like that for a long moment, just breathing. Then the cum panel buzzed. He groaned. Of course. He tapped it on. Hold here. Voice came through, robotic and flat. This is Confederation Patrol Unit Gamma 17. We have received reports of unauthorized Trellian genetic material on board your vessel. Power down and prepare for boarding. Rion's blood went cold. Alira stiffened. Repeat the voice. Said you are ordered to comply immediately. He shut the cum. Alira stood, wrapped in one of his coats. They know, he nodded grimly. Somehow, someone tracked your signature. Or, the bond changed something, made you detectable. She walked to him, calm despite the situation. If they board, they'll take me, and if I resist, they'll kill us both. Rion stared at the stars outside the viewport. No, he said they won't. She tilted her head. You have a plan? I'm human, he said with a smirk. We don't do plans. We improvise and piss people off until the universe gives up. She smiled. Then what's the next move, Captain? Improviser. He took her hand, kissed it gently. We run. If they catch us, he met her eyes. They won't, because if they did, they'd see just what kind of power two bonded beings, one stubborn human and one unstoppable alien, could unleash together. And something told him the galaxy wasn't ready for that. Not yet, but it was coming. Asterix, the stars blurred outside. The viewport as Marlin's wake hurtled through unstable slip space. Engines pushed beyond factory specs and systems, screeching warnings every second. But Rion Holt wasn't listening. His hands gripped the console. His jaw was locked tight. He'd flown into asteroid belts, dodged plasma torpedoes, once even outrun a black market collector drone through a wormhole. But none of that compared to this. Because this time, he had something to lose. Behind him, Alira sat calmly in the co-pilot's seat, wrapped in a thin shawl of heteresistent mesh. Her skin glowed brighter than ever, noggold threaded through silver. A beacon of something new. She wasn't just bonded. She was evolving every hour since the Union. Her readings had shifted biologically, energetically, even on the ships. Sensors Rion couldn't explain it, but the bond hadn't just merged them emotionally. It had triggered something ancient, something designed, as if her species had been waiting for a spark, and a human had lit it. Now the Confederation was hunting them, because somewhere deep in the government databanks, someone knew, a Trellian human. Bond was no longer theory, it was reality, and worse for the bureaucrats and xenobiologists, who feared a tit had consequences. Alira placed a hand on her belly again. I can feel it, she said, her voice soft. He glanced at her. Him, her? She smiled faintly. Neither, or maybe both. The child's genetic matrix is ... fluid. Our union is rewriting the rules of identity. Just like us, he murmured. A warning alarm blared. Interceptors incoming, the ships. AI called out. 6 vessels, 3 with energy cannons. 1 command cruiser. Rion exhaled slowly. Of course they brought a cruiser. He stood, cracking his neck, and turned to Alira. I need you to do that freaky thing you did during the pirate fight. She shook her head. I can't. Not alone. You're not alone. They locked eyes. And in that instant, no words, no hesitation. The bond flared. The ship dimmed, then glowed. Systems flickered, then stabilized with a strange pulse, like the vessel itself had taken a breath. Every light shifted into a soft gold hue. Alira's pupils dilated. Her skin shimmered. She rose without effort, standing as if gravity bowed. To her will, Rion stepped beside her. Let's show them what a human and a Trellian can really do. Outside, the Confederation fleet closed in. The lead cruiser hailed them. This is Commander Voss of the Confederation Science Division. You are in possession of unauthorized biological technology. Surrender the specimen and prepare for detainment. Rion tapped the cum. Yeah, sorry, we're out of time for interviews, he said.
Ah!
Baby's due in a few months, and my wife's in no mood for kidnapping. You are interfering with interspecies policy, the voice snapped. Rian glanced. At Alira, she is the policy now. He cut the channel. Alira stepped forward, hands lifted, eyes glowing gold-white. Open the bridge window. Rian hesitated, then obeyed. Outside, space shimmered. She focused not on the ships but on the bond. What had started as energy between two beings had grown. It pulsed now in waves. Rian could feel it through the floor, through the ship, through himself. She wasn't just projecting energy. She was broadcasting love. Human love. Messy, warm, chaotic, stubborn love. Every Confederation ship's sensors overloaded. Their systems scrambled, one after another. They blinked out of formation, engines failing, weapons systems crashing. The lead cruiser powered down entirely, drifting silently as if stunned into submission. On the bridge, Rian was frozen, awed. Alira turned to him, her eyes shimmering with tears. It's not destruction, it's understanding. My people never knew how powerful human emotion was until now. He took her hand, voice thick. We fight wars with it every day, and sometimes we win. They didn't run. They didn't need to. By the time reinforcements arrived, Marlin's wake had already been redirected to neutral space, where an emergency diplomatic session had been. Forced into motion, 2 weeks later, Rian stood in a polished, alien-designed courtroom with marble walls and glowing pillars. His shirt was freshly ironed. His boots actually matched. He hated it, but he did it for her. Because Alira stood beside him, head high, her form radiant and proud. Her body had already started adapting to human-style pregnancy, visibly rounding at the belly. Their child was stable, growing, fast and reading as something entirely new. Something neither human nor Trellian. Something more. A new species, not a weapon, not a science project, but a future. A council member stood before them. We were told such a bond was impossible, she said stiffly. That Trellians and humans were biologically incompatible, emotionally unstable, culturally unviable. Rian folded his arms. Guess you were wrong. The chamber fell silent. The councilwoman paused, then looked to Alira. And what do you say? You were one of them, a gift, a biological envoy. Knew the risk. Do you regret this path? Alira touched her belly gently. I was never a gift, she said clearly. I was a test, but I am now a mother, a mate, and a Trellian who's found something worth more than tradition. I found love. I found a human who didn't treat me like a weapon or a sample, but like an equal. She glanced at Rian, smiling faintly. Well, most of the time, he grinned. The council whispered. Then the vote was taken and passed unanimously. Rian exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding that night. In the quiet of their quarters far from courtrooms, politics, and warships, he sat on the bed. Watching her read a datapad of Terran baby names. She stopped suddenly, looked up, and said, What if it's twins? He froze. Don't joke. Like that, she smirked. Just saying your genes are aggressive. He laughed, pulled her into his arms, and whispered, Whatever comes, we face it together. Alira rested her head on his chest, and together they listened to the future too. The steady heartbeat of a new beginning, to proof that even across stars and species, love always finds a way. The end.